Hey guys, in this lesson we're going to take a look at identifying 3D shapes. The majority of 3D shapes can go into a category and be called a polyhedron. A polyhedron is a three-dimensional figure made up of 4 or more flat sides called faces. So if you look at these pictures, these are examples of polyhedrons. They all have flat sides called faces. So these are polyhedrons. If you look at these, even though these two do have a flat side to them, they don't have all of their sides as flat. This is a curved surface, and this is a curved surface, and this whole shape right here is a curved surface. So these are not polyhedrons. So looking at a face on a polyhedron, a face is a flat side that's on any three-dimensional shape. So if we look at these shapes right here, this shape right here has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 faces to it. It's got the 2 ends, and then it's got the 3 sides there. If we look at this one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then the top and the bottom for 7 faces. Looking at this one would only have 2 faces because, again, looking at that is a curved surface and it needs to be completely flat in order to be a face. Looking at this one, that one only has 1 face. Looking at this one right here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 if you count all the sides, and then 6 for the bottom. So there's 6 on that one. And then looking at this one, there are no faces because the whole thing is completely curved. Now, a very specific type of a face is a base. And a base is either the flat surface that is across from the point of a three-dimensional shape. So it's the face that is across from the point in a three-dimensional shape. So if we're looking at those, here's a three-dimensional shape with a point. That means this right here, that's going to be the base for that one. So this one only has 1 base. Also looking here at that one right there, there's a point there. So that makes this right here. That bottom is a base for that shape right there. Okay. So that's one option for bases that we could have. The other are going to be 2 parallel planes or 2 parallel faces in a three-dimensional shape. Okay. So looking at this, if we're looking for parallel planes or parallel faces, this front one right here and this back one right here are going to be parallel. Means they're never going to intersect, and those two right there are considered bases. Looking at this one right here, we've got the top, that's going to be considered a base, and then this bottom is also going to be considered a base. And then looking at this one right here, this right there, that'll be considered a base, and that'll be considered a base. So don't get stuck on the idea that base always means bottom. If you look here, yes, this is a base, but that's also a base. This is a base, and that's also a base. But it can also be on sides when you look at shapes too. So base doesn't always mean bottom. And just a reminder, a base is also considered a face. So if we go through and look at these, this one right here has 2 bases. That one right there has 2 bases. And that one right there has 2 bases. And this one has no bases. So that's the vocabulary looking at your 3D shapes. The big part of this lesson is just going to be able to identify those 3D shapes when you're looking at those. So here, these are bases and faces that you could have for three-dimensional shapes. So we got the ones we're used to. So triangle has 3 sides, square 4, rectangle 4, pentagon has 5, hexagon has 6, and these are on there, but you can also have 7-sided, that's called a heptagon. 8-sided, called an octagon. 9-sided called a nonagon. 10-sided called a decagon. 12-sided a dodecagon. And then everything else, whatever it is going to be called whatever number it is, gon. So like you'll have an 11-gon, 13-gon, 47-gon, and it keeps going from there. Okay. You can use these these shapes to make up three-dimensional shapes. And there's two big categories for the three-dimensional shapes that we'll be working with. One of them is prism and the other one is pyramid. We'll start with the prism first. A prism is a three-dimensional shape that is made up of faces that have two parallel bases. So if you look right there, there's the base there and there's the base there. Those two are parallel. So that one's the base and that one's the base. And that's called a triangular prism, and it's called triangular because its base is in the shape of a triangle. Looking at this next one, it's a cube. Its base is a square, and they call it a cube. The next one is a rectangular prism. Again, bases are rectangular. Next one you could see is a pentagonal prism. The base right there at the top and the bottom is a pentagon. And then you can have hexagonal prism, 6-sided bases. And you can also have all of these right here for prisms too. Looking at the next one is a pyramid. A pyramid is a three-dimensional shape that has one base directly opposite a vertex or a point. So looking at this, you see how all of these have a shape that comes to a point, and it's directly across from a base. And the base is what names what type of pyramid it is. So looking at this one, the base has 3 sides, so it's triangular. This one has 4, and they're all the same length, so that makes it a square. This one also has 4, but they're different lengths, so it makes it a rectangle. 5, pentagonal pyramid. 6, hexagonal pyramid. You can have a heptagonal pyramid, octagonal pyramid, whatever you're working with. And then also included to be able to identify in this section are these across the side right here. And they kind of fall in their own group or category, but it's things that are made up with circles. So looking at this one, this is a cylinder, and a cylinder is not considered a prism, but the calculations and stuff that we will be doing in later sections are similar to it, but it doesn't fall in the category of a prism because these aren't flat faces. The other one that you can have there is a cone. A cone is not a pyramid because it doesn't have those flat faces for sides. And then you can also work with a sphere. So using this vocabulary, you can work on that assignment. And if you have any questions, be sure to write them down to ask them in class.